Can an algorithm possess the divine right to rule? China is using AI to rebuild the Ming Dynasty's legendary control networks, turning ancient philosophy into high-tech reality. We're diving deep into how big data has become the new will of the gods, automating absolute power in ways the emperors only dreamed of. Long before artificial intelligence, China had already built one of the most advanced systems of governance the world had ever seen. At the heart of the empire was an obsession with order, a belief that stability, harmony, and control were the true foundations of power. During the Ming era, the state developed a vast administrative system known as the liqia. Every household was recorded, every family was registered. Communities were organized into tightly monitored groups where neighbors were responsible for reporting suspicious behavior. It was a system designed to make the entire population visible to the state. Information was power. Through massive registries known as the Yellow Registers, the imperial government tracked land ownership, taxation, labor obligations, and population movements across the empire. In theory, nothing escaped the emperor's awareness. The goal was simple. If the state could see everything, it could prevent chaos before it began. But beneath this bureaucratic machinery was an even deeper idea, the mandate of heaven. For centuries, Chinese rulers believed their right to govern came from a divine force. If the emperor maintained order, prevented famine, and kept society stable, heaven approved of his rule. But if disaster struck, rebellion spread, or corruption consumed the bureaucracy, it was seen as a sign that heaven had withdrawn its blessing. Stability wasn't just political, it was cosmic. The emperor's legitimacy depended on maintaining harmony across an empire of millions. That meant controlling information, predicting threats, and reacting before instability could spiral out of control. Yet there was always a fatal weakness. The empire was simply too large. Messages took weeks to travel across provinces. Reports could be falsified by corrupt officials. Rebellions could grow quietly in distant regions before the court even realized something was wrong. The Ming state wanted total visibility over its population, but the technology of the time made that dream impossible. Today, that limitation is disappearing. Where imperial bureaucrats once relied on handwritten registries and human informants, modern China is building something far more powerful. Vast digital identity systems, real-time surveillance networks, and predictive algorithms now collect data on hundreds of millions of citizens simultaneously. The ancient dream of perfect administrative visibility is no longer theoretical. Artificial intelligence is turning it into reality. In many ways, the modern AI infrastructure emerging across China can be seen as the ultimate evolution of the Ming Dynasty's governing philosophy, a system designed not just to react to instability, but to detect it before it even begins. Predictive systems analyze behavior patterns, algorithms flag unusual activity, digital networks quietly map the rhythms of everyday life across entire cities. The goal is the same as it was centuries ago, a perfectly ordered society where disorder can be identified and corrected before it ever threatens the stability of the state. What emperors once attempted with scrolls, census officials, and human informants, modern governments can now attempt with data, sensors, and machines. The Ming Dynasty's yellow registers were the backbone of imperial administration, but they were limited by human capacity. Officials could only monitor so much, and corruption often undermined the system. Today, China's government is transforming that centuries-old framework into a digital, algorithm-driven bureaucracy. Modern social credit systems are the direct descendants of those historical registries. Using massive databases and predictive algorithms, these systems can analyze behavior patterns, anticipate actions, and adjust citizen rankings in real time. Where once a corrupt official might have distorted the records of a small village, artificial intelligence now scans billions of interactions across society, ensuring that bias and corruption are minimized, at least in theory. Travel and movement, once controlled by internal permits issued by imperial censors, are now monitored through biometric nodes, facial recognition, and digital checkpoints. Citizens moving outside prescribed norms can be flagged before they even attempt a violation. In the 14th century, an emperor might have only known about a potential rebellion after it had already started. Today, the system anticipates it and reacts before unrest manifests. But AI bureaucracy goes further than enforcement. It replaces human decision-making in many administrative functions. Large language models and automated systems analyze reports, allocate resources, and even determine punishments or rewards, creating a rigid, code-based social hierarchy. Virtue, obedience, and compliance are not merely encouraged, they are calculated, tracked, and reinforced by a machine logic that leaves little room for discretion. The parallels are striking. The Ming rulers sought complete control over information to maintain social harmony. Modern AI bureaucracies aim for the same goal, but with a scale and precision the emperors could never achieve. Data is now the ultimate instrument of authority, algorithms serve as the emperor's eyes, and predictive policing patches operate as the invisible hands guiding behavior across society. The question is no longer whether the state can monitor its citizens, it's whether it should.
And as the line between governance and technology blurs, the old lessons of human oversight may be lost to the new silicon hierarchy. In essence, what once required thousands of officials now requires algorithms and servers, but the underlying philosophy remains: absolute visibility, preemptive intervention, and the pursuit of total societal control. The silicon bureaucracy has arrived, and it's rewriting the rules of authority itself.
Survival in imperial China often depended on careful management of scarce resources. Famines, floods, and local shortages could quickly spiral into political crises, threatening the mandate of heaven itself. The Ming emperors struggled to distribute grain, regulate irrigation, and prevent scarcity across vast provinces, but technology was limited, and human error was inevitable. Today, artificial intelligence is rewriting that dynamic. Hyper-local resource allocation algorithms can monitor food supplies, energy usage, and public services in real time. Neural networks analyze consumption patterns, predict shortages before they occur, and adjust distribution automatically. Regions that historically suffered famine now receive preemptive aid, while AI ensures that scarce resources are used efficiently, reducing the risk of unrest. At the same time, the state is building a digital censorate, an AI-driven surveillance network that monitors public sentiment across social media, forums, and messaging platforms. These algorithms detect subtle shifts in mood or opinion and deploy interventions before potential unrest gains momentum. In effect, the system neutralizes threats at the idea stage long before they materialize into protests or rebellion. Living under such a system changes society itself. Behavioral patterns are constantly monitored, ranked, and reinforced. Compliance is rewarded, dissent is subtly discouraged, and citizens internalize a new set of social norms, ones enforced not by neighbors or officials, but by invisible algorithms that calculate every action. The psychological impact is profound. In the Ming era, obedience was a moral duty, enforced through tradition, law, and fear of divine or imperial retribution. Today, obedience is tracked, quantified, and incentivized by AI, creating what could be called algorithmic harmony, a society guided by code, where stability is not only expected, but systematically engineered. Through these technological adaptations, China is completing a vision that emperors centuries ago could only imagine: a state where disruption is minimized, behavior is optimized, and the mandate of heaven is no longer a moral concept. It becomes a measurable outcome maintained by machines. For centuries, the Ming Dynasty relied on massive stone fortifications to protect its borders. The Great Wall itself was a physical barrier meant to keep invaders at bay. But in 2026, China is building a very different kind of wall, a digital fortress, where information, networks, and AI replace stone and mortar. Sovereign AI clouds act as the backbone of this new defense, securing domestic data, monitoring networks, and maintaining control over information flows. Encrypted intranets and closed-loop systems create a protected digital ecosystem, mirroring the isolationist policies of the Ming era, when maritime expeditions were banned and foreign influence was strictly limited. This cyber isolationism ensures that the state's internal algorithms operate without interference, just as the Great Wall once kept external threats at bay. Yet, the power of a digital wall comes with risks. Unlike stone, algorithms can hallucinate, misinterpret data, or propagate errors across the network. A single glitch to cascade into systemic failures, potentially disrupting governance, resource distribution, or public trust. While physical walls offered predictable defense, cyber fortresses introduce an unpredictable vulnerability: the human-machine feedback loop. Despite these risks, the strategic logic is clear. Physical boundaries cannot contain the complexities of a hyper-connected world. Instead, AI-managed networks and digital controls serve as the modern frontier, enforcing order, monitoring movement, and ensuring that the state maintains near total visibility over its population. The new Great Wall is not just a metaphor. It is the concrete manifestation of China's ambition to merge ancient governance philosophies with cutting-edge technology. It transforms isolation into control, surveillance into stability, and the lessons of history into a high-tech blueprint for the future. The mandate of heaven once depended on an emperor's ability to maintain harmony, prevent disasters, and respond to crises with wisdom. Today, that mandate is being tested in an entirely new way, by algorithms. A machine-led government can process immense amounts of data, enforce rules without fatigue, and react faster than any human bureaucracy, but it still faces the unpredictability of the real world. Natural disasters, economic shocks, or sudden technological failures can disrupt even the most tightly controlled AI networks. Unlike human rulers, algorithms lack intuition and moral judgment, making them vulnerable to unexpected crises. Just as late-period Ming emperors struggled with bureaucratic stagnation, modern AI systems face their own version of decay: glitches, miscalculations, and the unintended consequences of hyper-optimization. Legitimacy becomes a question of perception. If citizens trust that the system delivers stability, the AI maintains its mandate. But if failures accumulate or incentives misfire, the illusion of divine approval can collapse quickly. The mandate of heaven, once a moral and philosophical concept, is now reduced to a calculation, an ever-shifting measure of algorithmic effectiveness. As China continues to integrate AI into governance, the experiment raises profound questions. Can a society be truly stable when obedience is engineered rather than earned? Can legitimacy be maintained when power is delegated to machines? And perhaps most importantly, can the mandate of heaven survive in a world ruled by data and predictive algorithms rather than human judgment? The future of governance may no longer be written in edicts or moral philosophy. Instead, it may be coded in lines of software, running quietly in servers, enforcing order across millions, and redefining what it means to hold the right to rule.